And we are live. Welcome to the Political Orphans. My name is Nico Lagan, and I am your in-house conservative. To my left, Rob Ambrose, our token lefty. And together, we go through what's trending in the news. Our goal is simple. We want to show you that it's possible for a lefty and a righty to get along. And if we don't get along and we disagree, we're capable of having a conversation like normal human beings. Because remember, common sense has no political affiliations. Yee, better than yesterday. Eh?
Yeah, not bad, brother. Not bad.
What's going on? Yeah, I forgot the part I'm telling people not to forget. What's going on?
What's happening? No, you definitely didn't. You didn't fuck it up this time. So we got.
I was thinking about it the whole way through.
We're gonna have a sign. This many days since the last fuck up. One.
It would make my life so much easier if I didn't have to repeat it every day. But at the same time, the fact that it's never identical, I think is part of the charm. At least that's what I'm going to continue doing it. I'm going to continue telling myself.
Yeah, I agree. It's always, always the chance of the fuck up makes it a little more interesting.
Yeah, I gotta be kept on my toes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, I'm just happy to be here. Fuck electricity. Like, I got up around 4:30. I'm doing some research. I'm in my bed just doing research on my phone for like catching up to what happened when I was sleeping, basically, like I do every morning. And I see a flash of light. Boop. But I'm on my phone. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. It's 4:30 in the morning.
Green light?
Yeah, exactly. Next thing I know, I was teleporting. No. I was being beamed up somewhere. No. It's just, just like something like a light was turned on and off. But it's fucking 4:30 in the morning. Everybody's sleeping, right? I get up. Turns out there's no electricity. So we've been out since all morning. Only 13 houses. Like literally just on my street. On one side of the street, a few of the houses were out because I think one of the transformer just blew up.
Is that what it was? Like a local transformer?
It looks like it. What the fuck do I know?
Yeah.
That's what I'm going for, but I don't know. So I'm just happy we got power and I could be on here because, man, recording somewhere else is such a pain in the ass.
Where were you gonna go?
Probably my sister-in-law. She lives super close to here, but I would have had to drive 35 minutes out of my way, like both ways. So I would have had to drive like more than an hour to go grab her keys and go to her place. So I'm just happy I didn't have to do it. But the fact that we have Dr. Andy Kaufman today, it's kind of making my job easier because we're never going to be able to cover as many stories as we normally do. And because I've already spoken to Andy before, I'm very biased when it comes to this guy. I like this guy.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan. Like, I'm extremely fucking biased. So it's mostly on you, right? I have some things I want to talk to him about, but it's not necessarily about his views as a doctor, what he's known for, but his views on the political climate in both the US and Canada, because that's not something I hear him talk about. So it would be interesting in knowing what he thinks. I don't know what you have planned for him, but
I've got basically just some it's probably going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot of like biographical stuff. How, like, give us your origin story. Like, how did you get here? Like, summarize or whatnot. And then I've got some specific questions, just based on some of the anti-vax questions. I want to talk to him a little bit about RFK.
Anti-vax, you mean? Don't forget.
Yeah, anti-vax.
Anti-vax.
And then I think it'll be good. I think it'll be a good chat. I kind of want to hear his take on politics too.
I'm very interested because I already know what he stands for. Like, I've known about this guy for years, so I don't have a lot of questions for him because I know what he stands for and I agree with him. So like I said, I'm pretty fucking biased when it comes to him. And if I were to ask him questions, they'd be fucking soft ass questions. Like, I'm not gonna hide it. So I'm just like, I've already spoken to him. I know where he stands what he stands for, and you'll see, man. He's just a likable guy.
Is he?
Like,
is he just cool? Like,
he's just a cool dude. Like, you look at the picture from the thumbnail I made. This is exactly what he is exactly what he looks like. He seems like the type of guy, and that I don't know. I'm not saying that this is true, but he's like the type of guy. It seems like you can have a drink, smoke a joint with, and just like just chill and talk about philosophy. Like, he's a big fan of philosophy.
He's that kind of guy, eh?
Oh yeah, we talked about a lot of stuff that were spiritual philosophy. Like I didn't really talk about a lot of the doctor stuff because
Mhm.
it's out there. Like everybody talks about him and that view. I was not going to bring something new to the equation. I'm
Yep.
always more interested once I understand what you stand for, no matter if I agree with it or not. I'm more curious to know why you do it. Why would a guy like him that have a successful business, that studied at MIT, that is a brilliant individual, why would he feel the need to go out there and start talking about this? Why would you
Yeah.
do that when you could literally save yourself the hassle, make more money by just repeating what you're being paid to repeat and call it a day? That's the part that interests me. Why the fuck do you do
Yeah. Yeah. That's I agree. Because you got a pretty cushy job, right? Like
it?
you got it made in a lot of ways to then go and ask a lot of uncomfortable questions. I think yeah, I'd be real curious to hear some of his motivation. I think it's gonna be a great chat.
You know, this is the thing because one thing that I know personally is once you open that door, once you start being very vocal about your ideas, kiss your career goodbye. I I I dropped my career as a sales engineer because of the COVID vaccine. I refused to take it, but I could have just not talked about it. I could have just left it there and start looking for another job where they wouldn't have worried about that. Like it wouldn't have been a big deal to them because I'm sure I could have found an American company to work for, which to them was not really a debate. But the fact that I'm so vocal about what I stand for on a daily basis, that prevents me from having any fucking corporate job out there. It doesn't even matter because I don't agree with the Republicans. I don't agree with the Democrats. I don't agree with any of the party. I'll praise them when they deserve it, but I'll be the first one to call bullshit. So both sides fucking don't like me. So I'm screwed no matter what. I gotta work. I gotta work for myself. I don't have a fucking choice.
Yeah.
So this is what I find interesting about guys like Andy Kaufman.
Yeah, I guess
Uh,
you probably have a bit of kinship with him, a guy like that.
yeah, because he runs a good team. Like he has a few guys that works for him because I never really talked to him directly. Like I deal with his assistant and stuff like that. So when you have an assistant, you're on the right track.
Well, yeah, you're doing all right.
You're not like two dudes like you and I that take care of everything behind the scene, right? We don't have a team. It's just what you see right now is what you get.
Yeah. I mean, that's the dream, right? That's the dream.
Yep, agreed. So 8 minutes in, let's try to cut it off there.
Yeah.
I saw that look. I think that was your cue. I got it, cue ball.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah. Let's do
Got the
this.
cue.
Let's do this.
So you know what? Since it's your question, let me just talk about what we're doing in the next couple of weeks, and then you can ask the question of the day, and we'll get it from there. So,
Yep.
like we said today, Andy Kaufman is joining us at 1 p.m. So 50 minutes from now. Tomorrow, Rob's not there, but he will be replaced by Jason D. Instead of being here today, he's going to be here tomorrow. That also tomorrow we will be covering the English debate for the federal election. So starting at 6:45 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow, we will be live. We will be listening to the debate, and obviously we're going to be commenting. It is, as Rob mentioned yesterday, it's informal because our platform is so formal normally.
Yeah,
but
it's formal. Yeah.
What I'd like to do is really just have us take some comments from the audience and just listen to the debate, like take some popcorn. If I could smoke inside, my wife wasn't pregnant, I'd probably be fucking smoking a cigar.
Smoking a cigar. Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, bro, this is my type.
That's real chill. Yeah.
The only thing I want in the next house, bro, is an office where my studio is going to be in, where all of my books, I'll have a few leather chairs, really nice, and a humidor. This is my dream, to have a nice office where my studio is, and next door have a full-fledged humidor, like one door access to my humidor. The rest of the house, I can give two shits. My wife can take whatever she wants. That's all I want. I want that and space for motorcycles. That's it. Those are my only requirements.
Yeah. And then the motorcycles, of course.
I don't like cars, but I like motorcycles.
Yeah.
So Andy Kaufman today, tomorrow election. You're not there, but we're covering the election 6:45 p.m. We will. We have as a special guest the host of Awaken Winning, Kaylor Betts. We will definitely be talking about politics on. That is next week on the 23rd, on Wednesday next week at 12 noon p.m. Eastern time. He's going to join us. So this dude's a cool dude. I think you guys are going to like him. He's very common sense type of individual. And on the 28th, there will be no shows at this time, but we will be covering the election results. So we will be live streaming probably for quite a few hours. Not too sure of the format yet. I would love for us to find people to show up and talk about their opinions, what they think is going on, keep it entertaining. But again, nothing formal, popcorn and cigars and alcohol. That's how I see it.
Yep. Yeah. No, I'm down with it. So I was just a question about Andy Kaufman. So as I was doing my research, it turns out he doesn't believe viruses are real. Is that correct?
No, that's his main thing. That's his main thing.
Okay. I mean, I'm open to it. Like, let's see what you got.
That's his main thing. He does not believe in viruses. He believes that they're another type of infection.
Okay.
It's something that is internal, not spread. Either way. Okay. I'll let him explain it to you, but yes, you definitely found the wrong guy. That's him.
Okay, cool.
That's definitely him. What's the question of the day, bro?
Should the Trump administration do everything they can to bring back Abrego? Is that it? Abrego Garcia. If you're not sure who that is, you probably haven't been on social media lately, but he is all over. He was, most people, I think, say, and I believe even the Trump administration admitted, he is mistakenly deported to this insane prison in El Salvador, which, sucks. But now they're saying, no, they can't. They're like, yeah, we shouldn't have done it, but nothing we can do now. And I think a lot of people are like, okay, that's not right. You make a mistake, you got to rectify it to the extent that you can. I do not believe there's no way to get him back if both countries are cooperating. You know what I mean?
If they wanted him back, he'd be back.
Yeah.
Let's be honest here.
Yeah, I've got just an update on that story. Actually, I've got a clip here of his wife, and it's kind of, you feel for the guy because it's okay. I'll let her speak, and then we'll talk about that.
What? Letting a woman speak? What's wrong?
Nico, why do you hate women so much?
Oh, it had been so long since we heard that.
Yeah.
Okay, go for it.
Parents.
All right.
And I stand before you filled with spirit that refuses to bring down. I will not stop fighting until I see my husband alive. Kilmar, if you can hear me, stay strong. God hasn't forgotten about you. Our children are asking, when would you come home? And I pray for the day I tell them the time and date that you'll return. As we continue through Holy Week, my heart aches for my husband, who should have been here leading our Easter prayers. Instead, I find myself pleading with the Trump administration and the Bukele administration to stop playing political games with the life of Kilmar. Our family is torn apart during this scary time, and our children miss their dad so much.
Only a few more seconds.
Despite the challenges we continue to face with the U.S. and the Salvadorian government, I hope that the strength of faith and the resilience within us will keep us standing after all the punches we continue to receive. Our ability to fight back against these governments are testimonies to the spirit of fight and restraint that God has given us. We will continue standing strong, and we will never give up on you, Kilmar.
Yeah, so I mean, it doesn't add any information that we didn't already have, but it's just, I think it adds a human dimension to it.
You find?
What's that?
You find?
Well, it just explains that it shows that the guy's got a wife and kids, right? Like I find, at the end of the day, it doesn't change materially. Like, for example, Mahmoud Khalil has a wife and kids, and both of us are saying this irrelevant. But I think this isn't the same case. He's not really, he hasn't committed a crime. He's never been arrested in 14 years that he's been in the United States. It's pretty shitty to just go to work one day and be fucking find yourself, you wake up in a fucking murder prison in El Salvador. I just think the Trump administration should do something to answer the question of the day.
I agree with you 1,000%. There's something off about this case. I really don't understand what the big deal is. You made a mistake. Awesome.
Yeah.
Shit happens.
It happens, right?
Fucking deal with it. I've said this multiple times. I'll say it again. It is not if you'll make a mistake. It's when and how we'll deal with it.
How will you respond to it?
100%. This is all what it's about. So I don't understand it. I don't get why this is such a big deal, because clearly if Trump and Bukele cared, they would make it happen. We're not talking about something complicated here. They can literally, Bukele is the president of fucking El Salvador. He can go find that guy in that prison, put him on a fucking plane back to the U.S. The U.S. even said that their only responsibility was to put him on a plane. So there you go. Offer the plane. It's already there. So,
it's not hard.
No, it's not hard. And I don't understand. It is, as much as we always talk about, like you always say this, that the left always seems to be ready to die on a hill that they shouldn't. Like it's not this is also one of them that you're just digging. You're digging a hole that you could easily get out of. This is not the hill to die on. You're already planning to deport more people. Why the fuck would you die on this hill? It is not the one to die on. On the contrary, show the people that you care. Show the people that you're humble and the fact that you will make mistakes. That's it, plain and simple. Bring that guy back. Because up to now, man, I haven't been convinced. They haven't, unlike Mahmoud Khalil, which I see their point. He painted a target on his back. Mahmoud Khalil has only Mahmoud Khalil to blame for what's happening to him. I don't see it with this guy. I have not read anything that could have convinced me that he did anything wrong. Anything. Now, on the other hand, that interview, like that speech was terrible. That woman is not likable at all. Boo! If I'm in, if I you like to call them like murder prison. If I'm in a fucking El Salvador prison and somehow, which I highly doubt that they have TVs.
He's probably like, let me stay. They're like, Garcia, you're out. Like,
no.
Nah, I'm saying.
If that's the best my wife got, if that's her plea,
I know. Like, it shows something
and I get to see this afterwards. I'm like, you fucking bitch. That's all you got. You couldn't give two shits, could you? She couldn't even fucking cry. She didn't even seem emotional. She was reading off a paper. And it's not like she was a deer in the headlights like, oh, I don't know what to say. No. Like, that woman sucked. She was not likable at all. Boo! That woman sucked. If really I had to judge her love by
Look
that
at tough
speech.
crowd, man. Tough
No!
fucking grieving wife
No! She's not
fucking
grieving at all.
booing
Fucking
a grieving
no!
booing a grieving wife.
No! She wasn't grieving. That was just a wife.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it was such a written speech that lacked any type of real emotion. Like, that was terrible. Like, put that speech again, like I've said multiple times. Mute that shit and tell me if she's likable. Mute
Yeah.
that shit and tell me if this was an emotional plea for her. I was going to say kidnapped. Maybe that's the right term. Maybe it
It
isn't.
might be, yeah.
But you know what? Put it on mute. Look at that video and tell me if this does that sound emotional to you? If you didn't know who she was, if you didn't know what it was about, and then I tell you, yep, that was the plea from a woman to the government to bring back her missing husband, you'd look at me like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, you don't feel it. There's no emotions there, so boo.
Yeah.
Boo.
Yeah, I agree. Like, it's hilarious.
That's the best.
Booing. Well, it's the only wife that he's got. It's the only wife he's got. So.
That's all you got, huh?
He doesn't have another
Boo!
wife in the lockup that he can bring out.
You know, man, if I was that guy's father, I'd be like, boo! Is that the
Yeah,
best
why?
you
What?
got?
Yeah. Welcome back,
why
son.
did you
Now
talk
you
to
might
me?
want to.
What?
You
Yeah,
might want
that's
to have. You might want to discuss things with your wife.
fuck. I guess the guy was a good worker and he left some money for her to take care of her children because she doesn't seem to be hurting that much. Was all I'm saying. Fuck.
Fucking tough crowd, man. Just booing the grieving wife. But yeah,
You see what I mean? Like, don't make me
I know.
sound like I'm alone on this. She was not a great.
She
If
comes
my
up
life, bro, if my life is in the balance, and that's the best speech my wife got, if I'm ever out of that prison, you're gonna hear about it.
How did I do? Oh, you sucked. You sucked.
Boo!
Yeah.
Boo! Oh, that was just terrible.
That's too funny.
Absolutely horrendous pile of shit. Tell us how you really feel. Well, you know.
Yeah. All right. What do we got next? We got what?
Tariff
40 minutes?
updates. So tariff updates. That's the second thing we're going to talk about because, man, I'm tired of just like I was telling you this morning. I'm so fucking tired of talking about the tariffs. Blah 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 blah. Tariffs. They seem to be a lot of fucking talk, not a lot of action. Do you know what I mean? They don't seem. People seem to be responding to them like it's the end of the fucking world, but I haven't seen any difference going to the grocery store, buying shit right now. It's more expensive from last time I was here 6 months ago because our inflation is through the fucking roof, but it has nothing to do with the products that we're buying from the US, right? So I'm just fucking tired of talking about fucking tariffs. Can we fucking deal with them already? But it seems like the war's continuing between China and Trump. Trump's escalating it once again. So what did Trump do this time?
So he, of course, raises the tariffs to 245%. Essentially, it's just, I guess it's newsworthy in and of itself, but it doesn't really change anything. It's just more tariffs, right? Tomorrow it's going to be 260 and then 270. Like at some point, it's just like, what are we even like? It's what are we even doing here? But yeah, just more of an update. As we honestly, the market isn't even really responding. I'm looking at it here.
Anymore. They don't even care anymore.
Fucking 300, 800%. What does it even matter? It's all it's all going to shit anyways.
It's just, man, I'm just so tired of this.
Yeah. Of all the, I agree.
Can it not just stop? Like, can we not? Because if the goal is to get a deal, can we not just get the
fucking deal? That's right.
Man. Clearly, they're not planning on continuing to escalate this and escalate it and escalate it. At one point, they both need each other, just like we need the US and Canada. So can we stop acting tough and just sit the fuck down to discuss. Because, you know, people are pissed and blaming Trump for everything. But like we've said before, Trump's not the problem. The fucking system's been the problem. Since the fucking 70s, it's been a problem. He's just the first one to address it. And guess what? When you say something people don't like, they're going to react to it.
Yep.
And he's powerful enough that he can fuck with every single fucking country on this planet if he wants to. That's the type of power that man holds right now. And guess what? He does not give a fuck. He clearly doesn't care if it hurts your feelings. So can we just fucking sit at the table now? We understand that China's strong, that Trump is strong. Just like with the Garcia stuff. Like, can we not take it on the chin and just say, you know, maybe we made a mistake on the Abrego one. Awesome. Let's bring him back. Now, China, do you get the fucking message? We just want to fucking renegotiate our deal to make sure that Americans stop getting fucked up the ass. Can we do that? Like, why can we not have fucking conversations like normal human beings? That is one thing that seems to be a problem right now when it comes to the tariffs, like especially between China, the US, and Canada. It seems like nobody wants to sit down and just talk to each other. Like, is it that complicated? Like,
I mean,
that's pretty fucking simple to me, man.
Yeah, I think it was sort of like when it was new, it was like almost exciting, newsworthy, and now I think people are just done with it. People aren't going to like to see these, increased prices and just economy is going to get dragged down on both sides, and you have to assume or imagine there's going to be some solution somewhere.
Yeah, and I wonder, like, questions to the people out there. Have you seen a difference right now? Like, have you seen, if you're an American, because obviously what's going on between America and the US, the US and China doesn't impact us directly. But have you really seen a difference? Like, have you seen a difference in your day-to-day costs right now? Because as much as we're being told that it will have an impact, have you seen it yet? I haven't personally. I haven't, but that doesn't mean it's not existent, right? Cheryl, what is going on? Cheryl, what's up? What's up? So yeah, question for you guys. On top of the
Cheryl,
our daily question. Yeah. Have you seen a difference on your prices?
I haven't. Have you? I haven't either.
No, I think, and this bothers me because it seems to be a lot of, during COVID, it was the same thing. Like when I first heard of COVID, I was like, loaded shotgun. I grew up watching fucking zombie movies. In my head, I'm like, motherfucker, it has happened. We will now have to fight for our life. Like I remember beginning of 2020, I'm like, shotguns loaded. I'm ready to go to war with the fucking zombies. Then nothing happened. Sorry for the people out there, but a bunch of old people and a bunch of fat, overweight people with multiple existing problems start getting really sick and dying. That's any diseases that could do that to them. Like they could catch a cold and fucking
yeah.
So I'm like, what the fuck is happening here? This is what this is turning into. All excited, like, what the fuck? The end of the world. Second, like it's Black Monday. Ah! Nothing happens.
Nothing happens. It's I'm part of the media is just to sensationalize, right? It's designed to get people talking and freaking out about these things. So yeah, I mean, I agree. It is. Sometimes you're like, okay, if the world's gonna end, just fucking end, right? Let's get this started. Let's get this fucking shit started.
Yeah, I'm more entertained by the wife of Abrego than I am from the tariff. Boo, boo, Abrego, boo. But yeah, man, I hope this gets resolved soon enough. I don't know if it's overload of information, because that's one thing, man. Since Trump has been in power, god damn, it's hard to keep track of everything that's going on, and it never fucking ends. Jesus, like it just does not fucking stop.
No, that's right, eh? It just, yeah. It's like it's as predictable as the seasons. It's it's going to happen every single time.
Yeah, it's. I'm tired. I cannot wait for this shit to be done. The tariff crap. Because
I agree.
obviously it's going to get resolved very soon. And
Yeah, and we got to talk about it. But yeah, I agree with you. It's kind of it doesn't really move the needle that much anymore. Prairie, how's it going? Yeah,
what's going on,
exactly.
Prairie?
Some like flu season, some will succumb to it. Correct.
Prairie, same question to you. Do you see a difference on the day-to-day? Because you're in Canada. Do you see a difference with the tariffs that we are supposed to be dying under? Like, have you seen a difference? Because I've seen a difference, but it's from the Canadian economy. It's the way that our economy has been mismanaged for the past 10 years. I haven't seen a difference coming from the tariffs. It was from the liberal government and their bullshit that I've seen a difference. So, Prairie, question for you. Now, man, we're going good. 30 minutes, 2 subjects down, a couple more to go. Jesus, that's what happens when you don't speak for 35 minutes before introducing before starting other subjects. God damn.
That's right.
There's a few things we wanted to cover, and it's gonna be mostly Canadian politics until Andrew Kaufman joins us, because outside of that, there's not much happening in the US. Like, surprisingly, there's probably a few things we could talk about, but nothing that I'm really excited. Moving the needle, like we say.
Oh, actually, there was one thing I just since we're here.
There is.
Yeah, it's not really news or anything, but I just saw it and I was like, interesting. Remember, we've talked about Fetterman on this show, and then of course AOC's potential primary presidential run, and we both like Fetterman. We're like, that's the kind of guy that really needs to sort of.
I wouldn't say I like him, but I
for a lefty.
But I respect what he's doing, because he's actually speaking his truth. Yes. I agree with a lot of the things that he's saying, yet a lot of the shit I'm like, oh, shut the fuck up, put a suit on already. But yes, no. If there's one person that should represent the Democrat Party, it is Fetterman. This is what because at least he makes sense he's more like a Bill Maher.
Yeah,
similar.
I agree.
Not as smart as Bill Maher, in my opinion.
Kind of common sense, though. Yeah.
At least he tries. I can understand what he stands for, even if I don't agree. AOC, I'm just like, you're just a fucking twat. Like, stop talking. We all know that if she wasn't good looking, if she would look like Hillary Clinton, she wouldn't be there anymore. Just like Hillary Clinton. Just putting it out there.
Yeah, that's right. So here's this. It looks like approval ratings within the Democratic Party. So remember, we were like, oh yeah, Fetterman. Maybe he could be the guy to really sort of bring the left back to some sanity. Yeah. Well, it turns out no, probably not. Yeah.
Oh, fuck off.
Minus 17% among Democrats. He's down here.
62%.
59% for Harris. Like, come the fuck on.
Can you imagine this? No. Hey, hold on. Harris as president, AOC as VP.
Oh, I hate it. I hate it so much. I hate it so much.
That's enough to bring the second coming of Christ. That right there, Christ is going to come down. It's like, hell no. Like, what the fuck is going on? Yeah,
exactly. But yeah, it's funny.
Who's the third one? I don't know that name.
Buttigieg, Pete Buttigieg. We got Gretchen Whitmer at. Let me zoom.
Gretchen?
Yes. Oh, hold on.
Gretchen. Yeah, I'd vote for somebody called Gretchen.
No, Gretchen. Sorry, Gretchen Whitmer.
Oh, Gretchen.
Yeah,
that's not better, man. That's definitely not better.
That's terrible. You got Gavin Newsom at 30%, Mark Cuban at 25%. So not all these are politicians. I bet you.
Hopefully, the more is Michael Moore, right?
Yes, yeah, you're right. Is A. Smith? Is that Stephen A. Smith? I bet you it is. I bet you it's Michael. I bet you it's Michael Moore.
Like the documentary guy, the fat ass idiot.
I can't think of
Stephen A. Smith at minus 17.
Is there like Sherrard Moore or Shamar Moore?
There's no way that's Michael Moore. It's just I can't stop. When I see Moore, I can only think about Michael Moore and the depiction that they made in what's the movie Team America? What a great fucking movie that is. Do you remember that? Team America?
Yeah.
That
Fucking,
is
it was
the
like puppets, right?
marionettes.
Marionettes.
Yes,
You're talking
yes.
about that sex scene.
There's no penis. She takes a dump on his chest. But
I can't
every
believe
time
they.
I think more, I think about that
I
movie.
can't believe they
think
got
about.
away. Can't believe they got
Of
away
course
with
they
that.
did. Of
Can't
course
believe they
they
got
did.
away with that.
Is that not the guys from South Park that did
Yeah,
that? Or
it was the
something along
South
the
Park
line?
guys that did it.
That
Yeah.
movie is brilliant. Durka Durka. Like that
Yeah,
movie is
Durga, yeah.
absolute. It's brilliant.
That
Sorry,
was
man.
really funny.
But I think
Yep.
you're right. I think it is Stephen A. Smith.
Yeah,
So
Stephen A. Smith
Featherman.
and Fetterman
those
down
two
here.
could be a great fucking ticket.
They actually could be, but what's hilarious is they're both at the very bottom. So
Yeah, but that's a good thing, I think.
it's a good thing in terms of like it suggests they're probably common sense guys. In terms of like electability, though, probably.
But
Not
did you
so bad.
see who did the polls though? Like, did you notice at the bottom?
Let me see. Did you see it?
It was
Yale.
It was
University.
Yale. So you know that right now it's like you telling me that a Harvard poll would suggest that they don't like Trump. Like that to me is the same. Like, yeah, no shit. They would vote for Trump right now. So AOC is very good. Like she's young. She speaks to the young, right? So it makes sense to me that a Harris, that a AOC is popular with them. We talked about Gavin Newsom, and that doesn't surprise me either. Because at the same time, you know, he is your typical Californian pretty boy politician. Like, does not like he's okay. Like he's a good looking dude. Like he knows how to speak like a politician. He knows how to lie with every 2 words. He's able to make people forget how some of the policies that he's put in place are just fucking ridiculous. Like he's your born to be politician.
Yeah, exactly. He just, I mean, for a lot of people who are not plugged in, he looks like he looks the part. He looks like a politician. If you had to cast someone to play the governor the governor of California, or even the president of the United States in a movie, you'd probably pick someone like that guy.
You're pretty
Hang on. Sylvie, good day to you, Sylvie. She says I tagged you guys yesterday about Bernier's interview with Tucker. It's supposed to air this afternoon. Yeah, that'll be interesting. Definitely going to tune in for that. I wonder, I'd be interested to see. Did you? I didn't actually watch the Patrick Bet-David interview. Did you end up seeing that?
No. I'm very happy that he's doing.
But you don't find him interesting, right?
It's his French accent bothers me.
Yeah.
As a Frenchie, his French accent absolutely bothers me.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
You know, the thing with Maxim too that throws me off a bit, he's not very excited.
No. I know what you mean.
You know, we had him on the show. He's not.
And that's just his personality, but I agree. I know what you mean. He's not like you want someone who generates some of that excitement. And he's not that guy.
As bad as this sounds, we're so used to entertainment. We're so used to being entertained, to being polarized, and he's not that guy. Like, as much as I agree with most of the things, I cannot think of one thing right now on top of my head that I disagree with him. I don't remember any of his policies that I looked at and I'm like, oh yeah, you're so fucking wrong. No, I cannot think of one right now. I can name dozens from Pepeliev and Carney even more. But there's something about Max that does not do it for me. Like, I am not pumped to listen to him talk to Patrick Bet-David for an hour. Same thing for Tucker Carlson. Plus, I don't know that he has something to say I never heard before from him since we've had him on the show. And I've been following him for a long time. His speech has not changed. I've been following this guy since 2017. His speech has not changed at all.
No way.
He's been saying the same fucking thing. And I don't say fucking thing as in blah, 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 blah. No. He has been saying the same thing. He does not change his views on. He's not a flip-flopper. That's something you got to give him.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to listening to him, It doesn't do it for me. But at the same time, there's no politician out there that I'm like, oh fuck, I need to listen to this guy talk for 2 hours.
Yeah,
Zero.
that's right.
I'm not a fan of politicians in the first place. I'm probably not the best that I will listen to it from a show's perspective because I plan to talk about it, so I'll listen to those.
Mhm.
But I'm not psyched. It's not. I'm not going to be sitting there like this is my time to chill, and I'm listening to a politician speak. Yeah, fuck no. That's something I do for work. As bad as this sounds, it's not something I really care about.
Yeah. I know what you mean. Like he doesn't grab you, right? He doesn't grab in that way. Prairie says Jason Levine for PM. Yeah, I mean, sure.
I was just talking to him this morning.
Yeah, what's he saying?
Yeah. I was just asking if he knew what's her name, Megan Murphy,
Mm-hmm.
and he doesn't.
Oh yeah, that's right. He doesn't, eh?
No, he doesn't know her. He knows who she is, but he doesn't know her personally. No, he doesn't have any connection. And yeah, we were just talking about some of the stuff that's going in the news right now. There's a bunch of weird stuff for, like, you look at the Natasha Montreal, you look at Murphy, there's just some weird shit going on. And, there's some things that you're smarter not to talk about. You know what I mean? Like there's certain things, and that's one of my problems. And he kind of, without saying exactly what he told me, he kind of gave me a warning to be careful the way I approach certain subjects from not a politically correct standpoint, but as in some of those people are not who they might seem to be, right?
Oh, really? Interesting.
No, but in a way that you might not like them. Like he's not saying that they're playing an act on TV. That's not what he's saying. But I tend to talk about what's out there, and I don't really care about the repercussions. Like I don't really care. I don't have a political career. My followers, I've been like this the whole time. It's not a surprise if I start talking about shit, and my followers, even if they don't agree with me, they know where the fuck I'm coming from. I'll make sure they understand that. It's just that supposedly there's some people that you don't know what they really stand for.
Yeah.
But like I was telling him, and obviously that can introduce the next subject pretty well, actually. I don't really give a fuck who they are. Like, to me, it doesn't matter. If something's wrong, something is wrong. Like most people are a lot smarter than me when it comes to the subject that they talk about.
Yep.
As in, they will wait to know more about the person itself before they speak about it, because they could come back to bite them. And I fucking fully understand where they're coming from, but I'm not that type of guy. I don't really care about backlash. It's not something I worry about. And I don't care about your personality. I really don't care. If something I disagree with is happening to you, I'm still going to talk for you. I don't care that you might be the biggest fucking asshole on the planet, but if something is happening to you that is unjust, I'll talk about it, and I'll take your side. I don't need to like you to stand up for you. Right?
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what we go on a lot about on the show, right? Is we assessing every statement or opinion on its own merits, regardless of who's the one who says it. Sylvie says, "Is it possible that your feed is a delay between audio and video? I refreshed several times.
Where are you listening? Where are you listening? You're on X.
I'm checking on X right now.
That's a good question. Let me see.
On my X, it's not. Yeah, no.
Because I'm looking on Rumble. Is
it okay?
It's good.
What's it like on YouTube?
Like it.
Let me check on Orphans.
The voice matches. Obviously, it's always a few seconds, like 1 or 2 seconds behind, but like the voice matches the video. So as far as I know, all is good. I'll check the Pulley Orphans.
It seems to be. It might be just Sylvie's phone. It seems to be okay for me.
No, she's right.
Oh, really? No. Interesting.
Yep.
Interesting. I wonder
No, she's right.
she's right.
Let me see.
Okay.
No, the feed
Laptop.
on
Oh,
X is
maybe. Oh, okay. Are you checking
no,
on your
but
laptop?
I'm looking on my
I'm looking
laptop
on
and
the
I can
phone,
see,
and the phone's
and it's
fine.
not. Oh, there you go. Because
Okay.
I'm looking at our 3 feeds, like yours, mine, and no. Now it's okay. Huh, that's interesting. No, now it should be okay. Actually, Sylvie, thanks for letting us know, though. So yeah, all I was saying is, I think it's important for us to stand up for the people out there, and even if that person is not a nice person,
Yep.
I'm still going to go to bat for them. But at the same time, I understand why some people wouldn't. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is what the conversation with Jason reminded me, is that I tend to not be very careful about this, and it probably will bite me in the ass one day, as in, oh, you endorse that person, you're that type of. No, it's just. But at the same time, I get bit in the ass every single day by both side of the equation, which
Yeah.
I'm not trying to please conservative and I'm not trying to please liberals. So at the end of the day, if I just stand up for everybody and I just call them all out, you know what I mean? As long as I stay, to me, it's more important for me to be constant than trying to protect or endorse people. You know what I mean?
I agree. I think that's the best way to protect yourself. Really, is to just be consistent, be constant. That way, nobody can, and especially if you're gonna be like, listen, we're always gonna just assess every statement, or like, I'm sure fucking who's the worst person? I don't know. Adolf Hitler said some things that you probably agree with, right? Like, he probably, like, if Adolf Hitler says the sky is blue, does that mean if we also say the sky is blue that we agree with
We're
everything else
Nazis.
he said? Yeah, right. Like, it's obviously an extreme example, but like, it's the same kind of thing, right? And we got to get away from that.
Yeah.
But you're right. A lot of people do. Oh, well, you see it with Bill Maher, the heat he's getting just from the left, just for talking to Trump. You see it with even Gavin Newsom for talking to
Charlie Kirk.
Charlie Kirk. And did you talk? Did you have Shapiro on the show too?
Yeah, I believe he did. Yeah, I believe you're correct. I believe that you're correct. Which comment, Prairie? Because I see your comment here. He just interviewed her not long ago. Who are you talking about? Are you talking about Montreal, Natasha Montreal? Are you talking about Murphy? Because if he talked to Murphy, he lied to me then. That would be funny, but yeah. Which one are you talking about?
Prairie, did one of your comments disappear?
I see them on both sides, so no, I do not believe so. But hey, this goes. The conversation we're having right now goes to introduce the next subject, which it turns out that, and this is something I'm going to tell you right off the bat. I completely disagree with this. This is fucking bullshit.
What is it?
I do that the Green Party has been removed from.
That's a good segue.
Yeah, because you know what? I'm going to get heat for this. And just before the show, I posted about this and I basically, hold on, let me grab my post exactly so I at least quote myself properly. I basically said that, and the censorship continues in Canada. The Green Party has been removed from the election debate as they no longer meet the new debate commission rules. I dislike Elizabeth May and the views of her party, but I will stand up for her right to be on the debate stage, just like Maxime Bernier from the PPC. It is clear that in Canada, it's okay to silence people we don't agree with. This is not a partisan issue. Free speech is the most important right any society has. It is not about protecting the speech you like, but the one you hate. So if you're celebrating this, you are part of the problem. So that's basically what I said before the show, because I saw this posted by a guy that endorses Poliev, that's always talking about Mark Carney, against Mark Carney, obviously, always hates on Maxime Bernier. So I posted on his post. Like I reshared it, but I did comment on his, and I'm like, bro, you're the problem. because he basically said that it was okay. Oh, it's like they're
then
irrelevant. How about
then
we
you're
let
just
the free?
saying, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
He can
Don't mean to
no, but
interrupt.
that just means that. So basically, what you're saying, because the NDP is going to probably lose most of their seats, they're not going to gain any.
No.
So the NDP is going to run similar to the Green. That technically next election, for all you know, they're not going to meet the requirements anymore. So PPC is not allowed. The Green are not going to be allowed anymore. What's next? The NDP is not going to be allowed. Are they going to remove the Bloc Québécois too? So it basically becomes a two-party system like in the US where you have the liberals and the conservative, although those are the only people that really that get elected all the time. You should still have people. I want people left of the liberals and I want people right of the conservative, because both the conservative is not a real conservative party. So I want people that are more right-wing than them. They're more like me. And I want to see the liberals. I want to know that the liberals are not as left as they can be. If there's no longer anything past the liberals, we're in fucking trouble. So I want to see that it could get worse. I want to see those parties like the Green Party that is literally should relabel themselves the Communist country of the Communist Party of Canada. But all to say that I want the NDP to be there as much as I cannot stand their leader. Same thing for the Green. They deserve to be there. It's bullshit. This to me is censorship 101. Call it the way you want. It's censorship. And if you don't agree, if you're celebrating this, you're part of the problem, and you need to check the mirror. Yeah.
That's right. I think because you're like, if you're celebrating that, then you're saying that, oh, actually you can decide whether to censor voices based on whether you like their opinions or not. And that's essentially this, you know what I mean? That's all that opens the door is to shut out people that you do like. I think we're getting here. Prairie says he's running. Oh no, sorry, that's not the question I was thinking of. Oh, this one here from Sylvie. She says, I read that the Green hadn't been removed. It's a candidate who pulled out because they wouldn't allow Bernie. I actually haven't heard that. I thought they. True. Yeah, I think they've been removed because they. What it was there was 3 criteria or something. One of them was how many candidates you're going to run, and the Green Party had committed to a full slate of candidates, and that was the thing that they were granted debate status for. But then it turns out, as it got closer, they've pulled some for strategic reasons to make sure that that doesn't hurt the liberals, which is bullshit in its own right. But because of that, they no longer hit those that requirements. I thought it was definitely bullshit that the Green was going to be allowed, but the PPC was. But I wasn't. I wasn't thinking also kick out the Greens. I was saying add the PPC. That was the solution. But yeah, they just said, well, fuck it. They're just going to go that direction.
Because I was reading, all I could find are articles like the CTV article that you're seeing right now. And they are saying that the Green Party has its invitation rescinded less than 12 hours before the debate is set to start. And we're talking about the French debate, like today is the French debate. And even the Green Party co-leader, Jonathan Pedneau, called the last-minute decision both unfounded and undemocratic. And he's right. Like, I totally agree with him. It's bullshit. And I was looking, they do have the reason why, and I believe that you're absolutely right. It was either 2 things. It's you need to cover, because in my opinion, it was either 2 things that they could be hit on. Remember, you have to have like 4 or 5% of intention votes in the polling. And the next thing that you needed to have is, as you mentioned, to have right here 4 weeks before election day, the Greens were only polling at 3% in national polls, but they did hold 2 seats with Parliament when it was dissolved. So remember, that's one of the new requirements too. You need to have at least 1 sitting MP in order to be on the debate stage. So you needed one person that's an MP as part of your party. You needed to have 4 or 5% attention votes in the polling, and you needed to cover, as it says here, so in order to participate in the debate, parties must meet 2 out of 3 conditions: having 1 seat in the House of Commons, so you need to have a sitting MP, holding at least 4% national support. Fuck, my memory is not that bad. 4% in the polls 28 days before the election, And then this is where I believe you were saying, or have endorsed candidates in at least 90% of the riding 28 days before the election. So
Yeah.
I'm curious because I was looking at the party earlier, and where does it say? So this is interesting because 4 weeks before the election, the Greens were only polling at 3%. So that's ding number one. But they do have 2 people sitting in parliament, so they have 2 MPs. So they meet one of the 3 requirements, and then submitted the names of 343 candidates they intended to nominate to run in every riding. But when the official Election Canada candidate list was released last week, it included only 232 Green Party, which obviously must be falling short of the 90%. But this is what's bullshit. Like, you shouldn't be able to change the rules mid-election. If you're saying that in 4 years from now, those are the new rules.
You know why?
But obviously, I know why.
Well, no, exactly, right? Because it seems like, and I'm sure this is exactly what happened. They were like, oh shit, the rules that we made up to keep the PPC out, it looks like they're going to be able to get in. So we got to add new rules to keep the PPC out. And now it's, oh shit, we also kept the Greens out. Oh no, well, let's tweak them to allow the Greens. And now the Greens couldn't even meet those. And it's just nonsense. I agree with Cheryl here. All parties running should, I think there should be like a minimum. If you can field, it should be low, right? Like 10%. If you have 10% of the seats, you've got a candidate. Then yeah, you should get a spot in the debate. And if it's
but if you're presenting people in most of the places, see, I think they make an exception from the Bloc Québécois because the Bloc Québécois ain't fucking. They're not putting people in 90%.
You're right. And why?
But they are pulling above 4%.
Okay.
And they have sitting MPs. So this is bullshit. This is bullshit because if you're not presenting yourself in, let's say they're saying 90%, which for a new party could be extremely rough. But let's say you have a 50 or a 75% where you make it, they need to be present most of the places. The Bloc Québécois couldn't even fucking debate yet. You would know the outrage if the Frenchies weren't allowed to have their fucking Frenchie party. And this is a Frenchie talking, right? That dude does not give a fuck. The leader of the Bloc Québécois does not care. He's there to represent Québécois. That's it. Plain and simple. He doesn't care about the rest of Canada. Couldn't be fucking bothered.
Yeah. I think, I don't know. You obviously can't tell someone that they can't run or it can't make it illegal, but it's a weird quirk of Canadian politics that you've got this. I don't know if the Bloc is still as separatist as it used to be, but like there was a long time when, you had a party in Parliament whose main goal was to tear the country apart. Yeah, it's a weird.
But it wouldn't have mattered, man. That would have been such a bullet avoided for the rest of Canada.
Oh yeah,
they would have. Quebec would have come back on their knees, wanting to suck anybody's cock to let them back in.
Well, they're friends. Right?
We're a bunch of fucking socialists that don't really provide anything to the rest of Canada. Yet we have some of the biggest, if not the biggest, reparation payments in Canada. Like, we're not talking about Alberta here. If Alberta separates from Canada, Canada is gonna fucking rip apart if they leave. Like, you're really talking about the highest producing people when it comes to natural resource, oil and gas. All of our superpower status could come from them. Like, they are our gold mine. Our gold mine is Alberta. Quebec is a bunch of fucking a bunch of kids sucking on the titty of the government. That's what Quebec is.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think most.
And I'm in fucking Quebec right now.
I think that's essentially that's what the Bloc is really for. They're not really there to separate. They're there to use the threat of separation to extract more and more privileges for Quebec.
Yeah, 100%. 100.
Cheryl says Reform was was Reform actually separatist? I wasn't. I didn't. I remember they were like Preston Manning. That was like I was young. I wasn't into politics. My parents voted for Preston Manning. of the Reform
Wasn't Preston
Party.
Manning a New Democrat? He was the original NDP, wasn't he?
No, he was a conservative. I think he started the Reform Party because that was back when the Conservative Party was called the Progressive Conservatives, and still is in some provinces like
Oh
New
yeah,
Brunswick.
I'm thinking about somebody else. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
In New Brunswick, the Conservative Party is called the PCs. Still, it's a weird name, eh?
PC?
Progressive Conservatives. That was the National Conservative Party was known as the PCs until I believe it was Harper. I think Harper changed it, so not that long ago, early 2000s maybe.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. See, this is what I wanted to see because I was watching. I think it was on Wikipedia. As much as I do not like this place, it seems like they have the MPs right now. So you look at the Liberal Party, and I can share this until we can talk about this until
Yep.
Mr. Kaufman shows up. So you look right here. So they're saying that. Let me remove that. So you're looking. The Liberal Party obviously is covering 338 of the of the riding. Same thing for the Conservative. Look at the Bloc Québécois. That's what I wanted to show. There's 75 riding out of 295.
Really? And this is the block? 75 out of 295. That's actually quite a bit. That's quite a few.
but that is only in Quebec and
75 of 290. Oh, I see.
275 out of 295. That's how much they're covering. And I don't know. See, this is a good question right here. Why are they calculated on 295 when everybody else is calculated on 338?
Yeah, because I'm trying to think about it. Like, that can't just be Quebec. Quebec can't have 295 seats if there's.
I don't know. That would be most. It's probably that they don't. I don't know. I don't understand. They're so messed up. Like,
yeah, I don't understand either. To be honest,
nobody cares about the Bloc Québécois. If there's somebody you could remove, which I don't know, you know that I don't believe in this, but if there's somebody that's fucking useless on that stage, it's that doof.
Yeah. If I
had to cut one, it'd be that guy. And I don't like the Green Party. I do not like Elizabeth May. Like, that woman is such an idiot. Man, she's unlikable. She is our Hillary Clinton to me. Like, this is how much I dislike her. Old white privileged woman bitch about everything that is just unlikable. The more she speaks, the more you want to smack her. And I'm not saying you should, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. No, I agree with you.
See, the NDP is still showing at 338 over 338.
You want me to show this Jordan Petersen video whenever you're done?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All I wanted to show is, hold on. Look at all the other parties. I didn't realize that there was that many other parties, like Animal Protection Party, Canadian Future Party, Centrist Party of Canada.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Christian Heritage Party. That's interesting. I didn't know they existed. Communist Party of Canada. Those motherfuckers have 2 seats. I did not know that.
No, okay, that's gotta be something else because they don't have any seats in. They
say they do.
Perhaps is that is that a provincial?
No, this is all federal.
That can't be right. I got to Google this. Communist.
No, I don't think it's right either, because right here it says 1 out of 338, so it's not true. Like, the People Party of Canada, there's definitely mistakes on the wiki.
Yeah.
Because 1 out of 30, they don't have an elected official, and they don't have an MP. I like how Maxime Bernier is considered right wing to far right, and I'm more right than Maxime Bernier.
Oh yeah. What else? Marijuana Party, single issue. I mean, I feel like that's kind of redundant. I guess there's not much need for them anymore.
United Party of Canada. Have you heard about them? I heard about them last week.
What do they do? Social conservatism. I wonder what that means. Fiscal conservatism, right wing.
They're more right than Maxime Bernier, and there's a Christian aspect to it. The leader, Grant Abraham, is an outspoken Christian.
Interesting. Are they running candidates in this election?
Yeah. No, there are, but like only, as you can see, they're from Alberta, if I'm not mistaken, either Alberta or BC, but I'm pretty sure they're from They're from Alberta, and they're only running like 16 candidates out of 343, right? So
yeah, and I mean it's kind of interesting, all those parties. But yeah, so I've
but
got,
all to say it's bullshit for Elizabeth May. It's
yeah,
bullshit.
I agree. Like if you're a major party, even if a minor major party, yeah, you should be on that stage.
Yeah, I
It,
agree.
it doesn't hurt anybody. And you know,
No.
I think there's far more potential harm from censoring voices than letting people speak.
I agree. I agree.
And-
Andrew just joined us. It's going,
Okay.
Andrew, all I can see is the small picture at the bottom. You do have beautiful hair, sir. Just before I let you on, I did not realize your hair were that long. You're gonna talk to two jealous baldies.
Yeah.
We're just gonna put it out there.
Out here.
So you want to play the Petersen video,
Yeah,
and
we'll
then we
play the
will
Petersen.
invite
Andy Kaufman in. All right. So
Yes,
this
sir.
is Jordan Petersen talking about, well, it's about how Mark Carney's trying to trick Canadians, but he actually got some interesting things. So we've talked a lot about this show,
He's a
but
smart guy. He's a smart guy.
Very smart guy. We talk a lot about
I'm
the
a
show.
fan. I fucking love Jordan Petersen.
Oh yeah, me too. The older generation, about how they're weirdly really going hard for the Liberals, and he sort of gives his take on why he thinks that is. And I think, as you said, he's a smart guy. It's an interesting clip. It's only 2 minutes long.
The Liberals, also being relatively instrumental in Canny, decided that they would install a new leader, coronate him, and now we have a prime minister who's only been selected by about 130,000 Canadians. And the real issue here is, Pierce, I think that older Canadians who are likely to prefer Carney believe that he's a return to the stability, let's say, of the period between, well, even the post-war period, but particularly between 1990 and 2010. You know, Carney's a banker. Canadians think he's pro-free market. They think that he's pro-industry. They think that he's a genuine, old-style, stable, conservative, liberal type. And he looks the part, and he plays that, and that's how he puts himself forward. But the problem with that, sir, is that Carney is seriously bad news. Despite his international cachet and his lengthy CV and his term as Bank of England governor, that's all impressed Canadians and made them believe on the face of his CV that he's a competent person. But a little bit of investigation into what he believes and the scope of the oncoming disaster makes itself clear. I mean, Carney believes that 75% of the world's fossil fuels have to remain in the ground. He believes that every single financial decision that every individual makes in every company should prioritize decarbonization over every other consideration, right? He was UN climate envoy, and he started a consortium of businesses that agreed really to be under the aegis of central planning, because he believes the climate apocalypse narrative. And my sense is that that entire narrative, and I mean entire, is nothing but the use of provocative and ill-founded fear to exercise a level of control over people that, well, we'll find unimaginable if it ever manages to manifest itself.
So I thought that was interesting because, you know, we talked on the show about how, you know, a lot of this older generation, they're voting for a system that, you know, it worked for them. Doesn't necessarily work for the younger generation. I think that's sort of what Jordan was getting about there. Like, you know, it reminds them of a different time. I think they still think they live in this time, and the rest of us are looking around and be like, "Nah, motherfuckers, it's not. You know, it's not 1975 again. It's not the heyday of you know, the euphoria of the Montreal Olympics and all those.
No.
You know what I mean?
And I agree with him, because this is exactly, it's interesting because I did not hear this video until now. And that is exactly what I was pondering this morning. I was reflecting on this question. Why the fuck do they still believe in the dream? And they're really just following the old school liberals, like à la Jean Chrétien. This is who I had in mind.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I was like, those people think that Carney is like the version of Jean Chrétien. And you know what? Let me bring Andrew, because he is a Canadian. I do not believe I think he's smarter than us. He does not live in Canada anymore. but I do know that he's Canadian. What do you know, before I even say hi to you, Andrew, what do you think about what Petersen just said? And why do you think that Canadian, especially the ones above 60, 65, the ones that still, like the tail end of the baby boomers, are still voting liberals? Like they still believe in that party.
Well, let me say, first of all, I'm actually not Canadian. I have nothing against Canada.
Why are
been
you
to
always
Canada
been
several
labeled
times.
as Canadian? Why are you been every time I look, they call you Canadian? There must be so many people with the same name as you.
Well, there's
Well,
a very famous Andy Kaufman,
Oh yeah, the actor you mean.
the actor
Yes.
guy. Yeah, Jim
But
Carrey played him in a movie.
my apologies. What do you, because I know you studied you study psychology as well. And
I believe the
why
trend
do
is
you
the same in the States too. I think the older generation is very anti-Trump right now.
why do you
well,
think that is?
I would, actually ask a slightly different question, which is why is anyone voting at all?
Oh,
Because
interesting. Let's go
we're
down that
giving
path.
away our power to people who use force to steal from us. That's how the government is set up. So if you vote, you're participating in that system and giving them your permission to do those things.
Ah, nice, nice. As
Well, welcome to the show, Andrew.
Exactly as
I've-
advertised.
I love
Yeah.
the way you just joined, gun blazing. Great
Yeah,
question.
yeah.
And before you joined us earlier, I was telling Rob how I'm kind of biased when it comes to you. We've spoken before. I like you. I think we agree on a lot of
I like
things,
him already.
and it's funny because what you just said there, I'm not voting in this election either. Like I've been talking about something for years now that I want Canada, and I think the US should do the same thing, but we should have a voting system where I'm allowed to go in, take the time to vote to say that I do care about who runs the country, but give me an option that will be tabulated that says that I don't like any of the people you want me to vote for. I will not vote for any of those, but I want you to know that I took my I feel is a duty to vote. I took the time to do it, but I don't agree with any of the politicians. This is what I'm doing this election. I'm going to go there, I'll fold the bill and I'll put it back in the envelope as I'm not voting, but I wish it was tabulated. So I see what you're saying.
I like that idea too. I think we talked about that. At least it would be a useful data point. You could use it as the disgust meter. This is the number of people who are disgusted with politics.
What do you think about that, Andrew? Do you think that's even playing in their hands?
Or would that be considered voting as well?
Well, I'm not sure how they would, officially tabulate it. But the thing is even if you like any of the candidates, they are not trying to get elected so they can represent your interests in the government. They
100%.
have separate interests that they're serving, and they may be charismatic and may say things that may make you think that you like them or agree with them, but that's not what they're going to do in office. In fact, at Princeton University, there were some political scientists who did an excellent study maybe about 10 years ago. And this was in the United States political system, but they basically looked at the campaign promises that the candidates made to become popular and get the votes. And then they looked at the biggest campaign donors and what their interests were. And then they looked at the policy decisions after the politician got in office. And what they found is that the decisions and policies enacted by the elected officials represented the interests of the donors, the wealthy donors, and not the public. And it, of course, went against all their campaign promises. And, you can see this with everyone. Corbett did an excellent video about Obama's campaign promises versus what he actually did while he was in office. And the conclusions from these political scientists were that we have an oligarchy system, right, where it's ruled by the few. Essentially, the wealthy elite are the ones that have the influence on the government, and all of us others, in the masses, have no say at all. We're just pawns in the system. So in my opinion, participating in any way to the elections is basically validating your pawn position. My way of going about these things is to not follow the government policies when they are clearly not right or don't represent your interests, and ignore their authority. And there are, ways, if you get into a conflict, that you can deal with that. But, I think it's the only way we make real changes in our political system is by attrition, that we stop participating in it. And, that may involve our financial contributions as well.
Would you consider yourself an anarchist?
Well, that word has
it's loaded for sure,
right? Absolutely. A loaded meaning among the people. But in terms of what it actually means, which is without a ruler, I would definitely consider myself in that category.
Interesting.
So basically, it's one of the Rothschilds. I always credit Jacob the Rothschild for saying that, but it might be Nathan the Rothschild that said that I care not who runs the country as long as you let me print their money. So basically, this is what we're talking about. Right? Who runs the government really does not matter. As long as you have a Federal Reserve that's ran by private entities, who you vote for really doesn't matter at the end of the day.
Well, I would say, even before central banks, they still had this kind of a system. And you can look at the European monarchies in the, medieval and Renaissance periods to see what it was like there. But yeah, I completely agree that since 1933 is really now the Fed was established prior to that, as we all know. But 1933 is when the monetary system officially changed, and they no longer had to have gold backing the currency, so they could print money, with impunity. And this is why we're in the financial situation that we're in now, and also the reason why all the other financial crises occurred. The Great Depression before that led to that was actually created by the Fed's policy withholding gold from the banks. And when the president said that people were hoarding gold, really it was the Federal Reserve that was hoarding the gold, but the people got scapegoated, and that's how the whole system changed.
It's interesting because most people don't know this, that money started as a receipt for gold. Like back, if you look thousands of years ago,
currency, not money.
Yeah, no, good point. That's exactly. It's just a receipt. At the end of the day, it was just based on a receipt. This is how
you
much
used to be able to actually exchange it.
But it really started on that, right? Just if you want to transport money from France to Germany, you don't want to get robbed. Don't worry about it. Give me your money in France. I will make it available in Germany.
Well, gold's heavy too, right?
Oh, but it's heavy, plus it's easy to steal and it's worth something. But it's basically just a receipt. Right. And now it's not backed by anything anymore. It's literally created out of thin air, and it only has value because we agree that it has value. Right. But it doesn't have any value outside of the paper it's printed on.
Right. Loosely, it is said to be backed by our future labor.
That's dodgy.
But
that's dodgy.
But not by a tangible asset. So it really, doesn't qualify for money. I mean, if you can look in the government statutes, you'll see, what they consider money for their purposes. But really, it's just a trust confidence game.
Yeah. I mean, if you, like you said, was in 1933 that they went off the gold standard. So that's what, 93 years. So you can keep a Ponzi scheme going that long. It just because it hasn't collapsed yet doesn't mean it necessarily won't. I mean, how long? Bernie Madoff, it wasn't quite that long, but it was pretty long, a couple decades at least.
We know from history, and Ray Dalio and Mike, gold silver guy, also all talk about this. If you look in history, every single fiat currency has failed.
Yeah.
Eventually, right? And the timeline for many of them is consistent with the U.S. dollar.
Really? What is that? Is that about 400 years? Is that like
no? It's I think it's generally less than that. I can't think of the exact number.
It's 80. It's normally around. It's
Yeah,
only
that's-
around 80.
Oh, you mean since we went? Yeah, because it wouldn't have been Fiat until 1933. I got you.
But if you look at great powers, the U.S. took over Great Britain about 80 years ago, just after the Second World War,
Yeah,
and we're at the edge of that right now.
yeah.
Of the
You
fourth
could also
turning,
use
have,
the
as William Strauss talks about, like we're at the end of the fourth turning, so there's something big going on that's going to happen soon enough.
What were we going to add there, Andy? I was
just going to mention that you could use the Bretton Woods Agreement as the starting point as well.
Okay.
But I agree that's consistent with the timeframes that I have read about.
Interesting.
This is
Really?
not the conversation I thought we'd have.
But let's
This is-
yeah. With that,
I
let's-
love that you just came in
it just,
ready to go.
Just winged it, fucking shooting
You-
guns ablaze, and that's what this show's
you
all
have-
about.
Before Rob goes, because it's mostly him, I wanted him to be able to interact with you because he's a lefty. He needs to be convinced that he's wrong. And
I'm open-minded.
But he's he's one of
Yeah,
those
I'm a common sense
lefties
one.
that
We do exist.
Well, my medical educational material is really apolitical. It's not left or right. It's simply, trying to explain the truth about nature.
And it should. I mean,
Yeah.
we're talking about a medicine, right? It should be apolitical. It's obviously
but
politics. have been
when you talk
injected
to
in
the
it.
left and you try to be logical, they make it about their feelings.
Doesn't
so
always work.
It's,
Yeah.
it can be a hard conversation, but luckily Rob is one of those that actually I think I thought it was impossible to have a common sense lefty,
we
but
exist.
they do
We're-
exist.
We're
So
out there. We're
Right.
out
and
there.
Well, look,
meet Rob, a common sense lefty.
Yeah, that's right.
Nice to meet you, Rob.
Yes.
And it is true that a lot of health policy is politicized. Like funding of health research is
Yep.
politicized, but how actually nature works and how people's health gets worse and gets better, that's objective, and it's important to take out any political thoughts about that because it really has nothing to do with it, right? The politics has to do with organizing and running society, and then hidden agendas like we were talking about from the oligarchy. But actual science and how nature works is simply an objective thing, and we'll never understand all the details about it, but we can certainly do a lot of scientific experiments and learn quite a bit.
Well, yeah, absolutely. So I guess we'll start. So I guess let's start with, let's say, your origin story. If you want to summarize for us just how you got to the position you're in. You are a medical doctor, and so you're not just, you obviously have some training in this. So you're by any stretch or anyone's interpretation, you are an expert in the field of medicine, at least. So I mean, you're I'd like to hear sort of how we got to where you are now, and then we'll sort of get in specifically, because I did a little bit of research on your beliefs, and some of them I definitely definitely want to discuss. And I'm sure you sort of know what I'm talking about.
We should. So I had kind of a variety of different experiences around the whole medical industrial complex.
Okay.
I worked in the biotech industry, like with doing drug development and manufacturing. I worked in public health doing AIDS research for a CDC-sponsored position. Then I was a physician assistant in hematology and oncology. So I worked with cancer patients and did bone marrow transplants and such. Then went back to medical school and specialized in psychiatry and subspecialized in forensic psychiatry, and practiced for several years, was an academic physician, did original research, lectured and such like that, and testified in a lot of legal matters.
Okay.
And what I noticed over all the clinical work that I did, and thinking about the pharmaceutical industry as well, is that the drugs that were recommended, especially in psychiatry, but in cancer medicine as well, they just were not effective. And in fact, if you look at the clinical research studies, you would get confirmation that they're not effective. So I observed it with my own experience working with individual patients, as well as in scrutinizing the literature, which they taught us how to do really well at Duke University. And many times we agreed Like the whole class and the faculty all agreed about this, but then we went back to the clinics and kept prescribing the same things that we just agreed weren't effective. And, I even learned that a lot of these things were very dangerous and shorten your lifespan, caused sudden death, like antipsychotics in adolescence and such. So I started looking elsewhere for different answers and came across Kelly Brogan's book first, and she was a psychiatrist also, and kind of discovered natural healing, so to speak. And so I began studying this fervently, began experimenting with myself and some close friends and family. And there kind of was no looking back. When COVID hit, I was speaking out about it, and my employer did not appreciate it, and eventually terminated my contract and such. So I had to kind of reinvent
story around here.
My career. Yeah. But, I was starting to really make progress with people. I was working at a facility for adolescents, and I had already been basically taking them off psych meds, which that in itself led to some improvement. But I was trying to work other, avenues, like through nutrition and, counseling/therapy, even in some creative ways. But I couldn't really do that in their model. Like that, all the psychiatry jobs that are out there, and I still, by the way, get lots of text messages and emails trying to recruit me to work because there's a shortage. All they want is a prescriber. If you can legally prescribe, they'll hire you.
It's the pill popping complex, right?
Just before we continue, I just want to say what's up, Jason. What's up, Curious Georgia? Guys, if you have questions for
yes, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Mr. Andrew Kaufman, he's here for this. We didn't tell him that he would have to answer straight question or live questions, but hey, this is the beauty of being live. So if you have questions for him, please.
Curious
that's the whole
Georgia,
point of us doing it live. So please answer. One thing though that I wanted to ask you, Andrew, is we spoke about this last time when you and I spoke, and I had to leave my job too because I wouldn't take the vaccine, so I left my career as an engineer, and now I do what I'm doing right now. But the question I want to ask you so that you can answer it here is, why do you even care? Why not just swallow?
Sounds like you had a pretty sweet deal. You had a good situation going.
Like, why do you care? Why do you care about being? Because I was reading on you again a couple of days ago, and some of the stuff that people say about you is they attack your personality, right? They will discredit you for having all the education that you have, and they're like, "Oh, that guy doesn't know what he's talking about because you challenge their preconceived ideas."
Well,
so why do
character, right? Yeah.
Oh, of course they do.
Yeah.
But why do you care? Why are you doing what you do today? Why face all the hate when you could literally just make money and
prescribe,
be comfortable?
Yeah. Well, believe me, it's, the consequences are even worse than you describe because they even play out in my personal and family life. So it's not an easy choice. For me, I think it's kind of two things. Like, one is that, since I was a kid, I wanted to be a doctor. And one of my big motivations is that I want to be able to help people. And I know that's kind of cliche, but I had this neighbor who I befriended who had cerebral palsy when I was very young. And, no other kid would go near this kid because he looked freaky. He was in a wheelchair. He drooled and stuff, but he was intelligent and he was cool, actually, if you got to talk to him. And, I made friends with him, but then, after maybe about a year or so, he got sick and then he died. And that stuck with me. I wanted to be able to help people like that so that, their existence wouldn't be premature and miserable. And, later on, as an adult, I also began a spiritual path which really for me, it's not a religious thing. It's about self-improvement. Mm-hmm. And I had an amazing mentor, Neil Kramer. You should definitely look into his work if you've never heard of him. And he said something that just really, really stuck out with me. Basically, the truth is your spiritual journey. And it's not your truth. It's not the relativistic truth, but there is, in my opinion, an absolute truths about the world, not about every single topic, but about nature and many things. And we may not be able to understand that absolute truth or reach it, but the pursuit of getting closer and closer is the main spiritual act to improve yourself. And combining those two aspects of myself together, once I received the information that made me see that, essentially modern medicine is a house of cards. It's not just germ theory. It's really everything. And I spent a lot of time validating it myself, like reading, studying, questioning, saying, am I right? Presenting it to other open-minded people, saying, criticize me, find the flaws in my reasoning and logic, before I got to a point where I was comfortable. And once I reached that point, I just felt compelled that I could not ethically go on. Like, once I realized that I'm essentially giving poison to people that is just going to mask their emotions and not really make any improvement in their life. And I saw I even had one patient who died from antipsychotic. So I couldn't go on doing that once I knew what I was doing. It would have been easy probably for many people, and I think a lot of doctors do this, to just kind of say, oh, no, that's just conspiracy BS. I'm going to get back to my, doctor existence where everyone respects me and I get paid well.
That's that's actually that's a super interesting backstory there. So now I have a question for you. As I was doing my research, came across the fact that your main thesis is that viruses do not exist. Can you walk me through that?
Yeah. So obviously everyone who's in an official position, and even your parents your whole life told you about these virus germs that would make you sick.
Yep.
It's only when you look at the details of the actual research will you find out that is just a story and not based on actual evidence. So the experiments that they do that allegedly discover or characterize a new virus, they never actually have an actual virus. So they don't go into nature and pull out a virus. They do essentially a chemical soup and cell culture with a whole bunch of things, and then they see these foreign cells in the culture be damaged from all the chemical soup, and they say that means a virus, but they don't actually have a virus in a vial that you can visualize or that you can analyze for what it's made of. All the information that they tell you about the gene sequences and all that stuff, it's all just based on a model. Okay. None of it is actually taken from nature. And this is very distinct from, other animals and as well as other microorganisms like bacteria. Those things, they actually go to the intact organism, from nature, and they take it apart and analyze what it's made of. And that's how they get the composition and the genetic components and all that stuff. But they can't do that with viruses because they never have them. And the pictures that you see that, you say, oh, well, look, this is a virus. They're one of two things. Either they're actually made by a graphic artist and a rendering, like, for example, the graphic artist that created that famous picture of SARS-CoV-2 from COVID actually won a major award from a graphic arts organization, professional organization. And then the other type you see, and these would be, they're all black and white. Sometimes they colorize them after the fact from an electron microscope. But when you see those, you see a whole bunch of stuff. Like you see, mammalian cells, you see all kinds of particles, and that only represents a very tiny part of the microscope field, right? Only the electron microscopist sees the whole field. It's like, imagine like it's the surface of a whole table, and you have a 5x7 photograph, and you can only look at one 5x7 section at a time. Well, they go through that whole thing, and you'd see all kinds of particles and shapes and sizes, right? But they basically cherry pick the one that they say looks like the virus that they're looking for. And the way this goes is that they're given a sample from the scientist who, did some experiment, and they say there's a virus there to look under the microscope, and they tell them, they say it's this kind of virus, so look for this kind of virus. And then the microscopist ignores the other pictures that resemble what the other viruses, because a lot of times they just have these arbitrary pictures, and so it's essentially just trickery. And even the scientific establishment is aware of this. They've published articles saying that the pictures that they show of viruses, they could be other things. And because, like in Kidney 360, which is one of the medical journals, they published in the summer of 2020 an article where they had samples from 5 or 10 years before COVID, from kidneys, not from lungs, right? And no one ever said that COVID infects your kidneys, that showed the same exact shaped particles with the little spike dots on them. And they said, hey, these are from kidney biopsies. They have nothing to do with COVID, but they look the same. There's a problem here that you need other ways of identifying it. You can't just look at the picture and say what it is, because here we have something that's not a virus that looks exactly the same. And there's another paper, there's several papers on that, but there's one other paper written by scientists from the CDC where they also acknowledge this. So what's happened is that although many scientists acknowledge the serious problems with the virus research, they don't speak out, enough to change anyone's mind or have anyone really question it. They stay on with the narrative, and it's driven by huge profits. The COVID vaccines were the top grossing drugs ever in existence from the pharmaceutical industry, right? And even before that, vaccines were commanding outrageous sums of revenue, because in the United States, it's like a double it's like a double eagle. I'll make a golf analogy for the drug companies to make vaccines, because one, they're required, right, for every school child, so they got a guaranteed market to sell it to. If the people can't afford it, the government will pay for it, and they have immunity from product liability. So in other words, if you take a vaccine and you die, your family can't sue the drug company.
That's kind of curious, eh? Why would you need immunity for a certain? Because it's not all drugs that have that. It's just what?
No, it's only vaccines. And the reason is because basically in the 70s, there were so many lawsuits from people getting sick from vaccines that it was not profitable for the drug companies. So they went to the government and they said, we're going to stop making vaccines because it's not profitable unless you give us immunity, because it's the lawsuits that are killing our bottom line. And this got worked out. And you know that the drug companies are among the largest campaign donors for politicians.
Oh yes, yeah, on both sides, right? On both sides.
Oh, absolutely, both sides serve the same interests. Really, they only have slightly different talking points.
Yep.
What I was going to say is, for YouTube purposes, this is entertainment only.
Yes, of course.
Dr. Andrew Kaufman knows nothing about viruses. He did not go to MIT. He's not a doctor. The vaccines
work. They are effective. Everyone should be quadruple vaxxed.
Get your boosters. Don't forget to get your boosters.
No.
And then
Nico, our last interview did not get censored, right?
Our last interview was not on YouTube.
You didn't put it on YouTube, I see.
No.
Oh no. The other podcast that I run cannot touch YouTube. If I do, they get taken down right away, and I always get in trouble. This one, we've been very good up to now. I think we're up to 50. I think this is the 57th or 58th episode that we record in the span of 11 weeks, and we're still okay. So we're doing something right. I wanted to take a question because we got a couple of questions here from our audience.
Jason's
I'd like to take one. Yeah, but we'll take it in order. Curious
Okay.
Georgia is asking, what do you think is wrong with people who say they hear voices and paranoia? And is anything natural helpful? Do you see the question at the bottom? I don't know if you do. Do you? You do see
I
this,
do,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
I
Okay.
do.
And you can read, right? Right? No, I'm just- no, but
Probably have,
so what?
probably
in
have,
multiple
probably have to
languages.
read to pass medical school. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Probably
so.
hard
Yeah, I
hard to
think so.
do. Yeah.
All right, you know there are blind doctors.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that is such a good point. That is
Oh,
such a valid
interesting. Yeah.
point.
How do you-
Yeah, that's such a valid
Well,
point. Well played,
It's
sir.
not. It's not
Well
me. I'm
played.
not blind yet. So let's just say we're talking about psychosis here with people hearing voices, and so yes, there are natural things that are helpful, and I would encourage you to look at the interesting work of Jerry Marzinski and Sherry Swiney. And Sherry is someone who was afflicted with psychotic symptoms when she was young, and she used some cognitive approaches to reverse it, get out of it. And Jerry Marzinski is a psychologist who worked in the forensic mental hospitals in California for decades and observed, worked directly with the most severe of these folks, and came up with some few startling observations and a hypothesis. Now, his hypothesis actually is that it is some form of demonic possession or entity possession. Now, I can't really confirm that, but here's what I can tell you is, one, that is a very interesting thing, because when people have this experience of hearing voices, these are like not just nebulous voices. They are quite specific. Sometimes they even represent someone in the person's life, like maybe a deceased relative. But usually it's, a complete stranger, but they have an identity, a personality, specific voice characteristics. Like you could ask people if they're male or female, old or young, that kind of thing. And they often are, the content of what they say, the most common experience of people is what's called a running negative commentary. And this is basically, a voice that's telling you, you're a loser, you never do anything right, kind of that kind of thing about you to kind of get you to feel bad. And maybe, it feeds off some kind of louche or something, negative emotion, that could be part of the hypothesis. So, conventional medicine would say that this is your brain basically being haywire and creating, the perception of voices, but it really comes from your own imagination, like a hallucination. But Jerry and others would say that these are real entities that have a separate, identity from you, and have some kind of purpose. So the way he's tried a number of things, but one of the things that he told me about was to basically he instructed some of these folks to recite Psalm 23. And so I had a patient I was working with at my last job before, I finally left. I had already been aware of Jerry's work, and we'd had several conversations. And I had this kid who was very psychotic, and for months and months, and I had tried him on 3 different drug trials, fully done the textbook way, and he didn't respond at all. So out of desperation, I was like, I'll try Psalm 23. His mom told me, that they went to church regularly. He'd be comfortable with a psalm, and he was in agreement, and he had a really good counselor who, kept reminding him to do it. This kid didn't talk the whole time I'd known him for, probably 4 or 5 months. I could get him to shake his head yes or no, but even that was a struggle. He comes back a week later after reciting Psalm 23, and he talks to me. And this is how I know what he was experiencing, that he was having actually this running negative commentary, because this is the first time he could really express anything about it. And over the next couple of weeks, he just got better and better. And, we had even been told from his records that he was developmentally disabled. And once he improved, we found out that his intelligence was actually average. He had been mislabeled because he was so psychotic. So, I don't know exactly how to explain this, but it was, in a sense, a miracle. And the first time I'd ever seen anybody respond like that who was psychotic to any intervention.
Wow. That's
Psalm 23 it is. Curious,
Lord.
Georgia. That seems that the Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd,
Lord's
I lack
prayer.
nothing. So
Yes,
that's a
the
powerful
one.
one
Want.
too.
He makes me.
And
I
like
don't
there
know
are-
it by
there
heart.
are-
I cheated.
There are other
It's in my-
techniques. Jerry and Sherry have a book together that if you want to learn, more about this hypothesis and about the techniques, I'd highly recommend that.
Did you want to plug that here? What's the title of that?
I can look it up for you.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
What'd you say? What's their name? What's their full
Yeah,
name?
we can
'Cause
we
now
can
I'm
put it up
very
on the
curious.
screen.
It's Jerry Marzinski and Sherry Swiney.
Oh, I got it here. Whoop,
I've got a quick
Marzinski.
question,
It's
Andy.
called, I've got the title. It's called An Amazing Journey into the Psychotic Mind, Breaking the Spell of the Ivory Tower.
Oh, that's cool.
So here is the book we are talking about. Not that I'm endorsing Amazon or anything, but
Yeah,
this is the book you're talking about, right?
Yes,
Jerry
that's it.
Marzinski and Sherry Swiner.
Swiney, yes. And they have,
Swiney?
especially Jerry has interviews you can find, on YouTube and other platforms as well.
Is he
including
still
at
alive?
least one with me. Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay.
And Curious Georgia, she says amen. So that's a reference to that story there.
That's a perfect comment.
Yeah, exactly right. So
It makes sense.
Yeah, I've actually got a quick question. I just want to follow up about the virus thing, and then we'll take one from Jason, who's got an excellent question as well. But I just so when people do get sick, say from the flu or whatever, like what is actually happening here?
Well, one thing is I don't know for sure because I haven't conducted the right experiments to tell this. But
Even
the way I look,
hypothesis.
I know I have a hypothesis. So
Okay.
I just want to differentiate when I have a scientific opinion based on, scientific evidence versus when I have my own hypothesis, from my own creative mind.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. That's great.
So I think if we look at some things about cold and flu, we can actually make a very good comparison to the plant kingdom. Okay. And so let's look at it that it is a seasonal pattern. Right now, occasionally people do get a cold or flu outside of the cold and flu season, but almost all of the cases are during the season. Mm-hmm. And it starts at a very predictable time and ends at a predictable time based on the environmental conditions. So if we look at the trees, deciduous trees, where their leaves turn color and fall off, we see a very similar pattern, that it's timed to a certain, time of the year with a certain climate. And what are we seeing here is we're seeing that the breathing organ of the trees, which is the leaves, because the leaves have little holes on them called stoma, and that's where the air comes in and they get their food source, their CO2 from, and whatever else is in the air. So, right, just like our nose and mouth is where we take the air in. So there's that analogy. And what happens is the leaves, they first change color, then they fall off. And of course, we know that they regrow in the spring. Now, if we look at it, we can even see sometimes in photographs where we'll have like trees along a path or a row, and some of them will have turned color. Like some might even still be yellow, some turned all the way to red if we're talking about sugar maples. And then there'll be some still with green foliage. Right? So it kind of looks like it spreads, but of course we don't even think that this is contagion or that there's a leaf coloring virus or anything like that. We just know it is an annual renewal cycle. And we see that, when it spreads like that, it's just because maybe there's a microclimate that's a little bit different, or some, trees are a little slower than the others. Now, what do we have with a cold or flu? And I would just lump those together as the same thing, the flu just being a more severe version of the cold, and maybe it involves more than just the respiratory tract because you get muscle cramps and things like that. But what's going on with that? So you have essentially when the humidity and temperature change in the late fall, early winter at the beginning of cold and flu season, we know that that turns off your normal cleaning mechanism inside your nose and airway, which is the cilia, these little hair-like projections coming out from the mucous membranes that they beat, and they sweep the mucus along to help clear out whatever gunk is in the air. You know, there's always particles and pollution in the air, and that's not what your body wants. So this is like a filtering system. And when the humidity drops down, the cilia stop moving and stop working. And so this seems to be like a trigger for the renewal cycle for your airway or your breathing apparatus. And it makes sense because all of the particles and air pollution that gum up those tissues over the course of the year, you know, sometimes need a big cleaning, just like you need to change the filter in your heating unit. And the same thing with the stomata on the leaves, that they get gunked up and clogged up from stuff in the air too. And they get brand new ones in the spring. So what happens during the cold is we get a rush of mucus, right, pouring out of us. And it is essentially getting rid of all of the damaged cells and the debris that's stuck there in the filter. And then once that cycle completes, you basically have new lining of your mucous membrane, and now you're ready to, begin breathing clearly and filtering in whatever comes over the next year, just like with the leaves.
Makes sense to me. So we got a listener, Jason, who he has actually an excellent question here I'd like to ask you. So he says, at this point, do the number of vaccine injuries come close to equaling the number of severe COVID deaths, or at least in your estimation?
Sure. Well, in order to answer that question, we'd first have to define what COVID deaths mean, because there is no, or never was, a COVID disease as we were told there was. What there was a basically changing of the paperwork. So like instead of someone, dying from a car accident, you would put on their death certificate that it was COVID, and because they were sick with COVID and that made them crash their car. And government officials, came on TV and instructed all doctors to do this. Wow. And, there's a lot of things going on, and there were during that lockdown period in early 2020, there were an increase in deaths. Absolutely. But the cause of those were very different in different geographic areas. And also that increase didn't occur everywhere. It occurred, in certain areas at very high degrees, other areas moderately, and some areas really no signal at all. But then we didn't see any increased mortality after that until the uptake of the immunizations. We don't really know the exact numbers because there's no reporting system that is adhered to. We can, look at like the VAERS database in the US and the equivalent in the UK, but that only has a fraction because most of these things were not reported. We also have the data from the insurance industry for death claims for life insurance policies. And that's been reported among some of the financial pundits. But I think most concern for me is in China, because we all have been told that China is the most populous nation with 1.4 billion inhabitants. But I recently learned that is not the case at all. And in fact, one thing that's well known and accepted is that the Chinese government has been exaggerating their population for decades. So their official numbers, don't really represent reality. Now, for a long time, they were relatively close to reality. But since COVID, there's been a massive population reduction in China. And this initially, I think, was noticed by people's experience of going to some of the big cities like Shanghai and Beijing and just seeing empty shops, empty malls, empty thoroughfares. and wondering what's going on. And then other people going to towns in the country and also seeing abandoned homes and such. And this is, over the last year or two. And then you have some serious journalists and researchers who are looking into this, and they have found multiple totally different lines of evidence, all pointing to this. So, for example, there's a policy in China that all babies get the HCG vaccine, which is, for TB. And American doctors know that even that is not effective, and they don't use it in Western countries, but in China it's required for every child. So what they did is they compared like the number of births reported by the government to the number of those vaccines actually given. So separate data set. And guess what? The number given was way lower than the published birth rates. Then they did other stuff like during the Chinese New Year, like people travel like crazy for the whole month of the Lunar New Year around China. And they have data, on the rates of tourism, and they compared it now compared to pre-COVID. And it was a huge, drop off. And there are several other lines of data as well. And the consensus seems to be from most of these researchers that the actual population of China since COVID is now only around 400 to 500,000. 400 to 500 million.
I was gonna say that's quite the reduction.
Yeah.
Jesus.
400 to 500 million. So basically,
that's still quite a large drop from
it's more than half. And you were talking about now that the population of China being comparable to the United States.
Wow.
If we believe the United States numbers. So this is huge because the current trade wars, for example, right, between the United States and China don't really account for this. It's like all the officials are still acting as if they have a huge population because their economic growth is dependent upon the population. If they don't have enough people, right, then they can't have businesses and generate, GDP. So, right, because it's not a per capita number, it's a total number that we look at, to estimate the size and the trade power and economic power of a nation. So I think, one, looking at that, in China, probably it was a combination of the, quarantine policies that they had because they locked people in buildings for quarantine, and who knows what they did to treat them, or, starve them, or who knows. And then, of course, I think it would be much harder to refuse immunizations in China because of their, social credit system and the way everyone is restricted there. So, I think they were basically use that to majorly reduce the population.
How can this is the thing. I hear you, and ever since you mentioned it, because I was not aware of this, I've been researching it, and the number that always comes out is the 1.425. Let's call it 1.4 billion people in China. How would you ever be able to prove or disprove that number? Because this is a massive amount of people. We're not talking about the 40 million people that we are in Canada here. Like this, to me, is more provable just because of the lower size of that number. But how can you disprove the $1.4 billion that the Chinese government is supplying the rest of the world?
Right. Well, you can never really prove or disprove any of these things unless you lined up everyone in China in a line and, put it on video and counted them one by one. But it would probably take 100 years.
Yeah.
So all you can do is look for evidence of validation of the real numbers. So it's pretty well accepted among demographers that the government has exaggerated their population demographics for, like I said, decades. And, you could see why they do this because, they're a communist propaganda machine, and they had certain policies. If you even look at their policies, what happened during the the revolution there, well, we had hundreds of millions of people being killed and die of starvation. Then what do we have? We have a one-child policy to limit the population. So how could, given those things, how could you have the massive population growth, that was reported? So I think you have to look at multiple areas and lines of evidence and see, what do they all agree with each other? Are they all over their place, right? And how do they compare with the official numbers that we know are propagandized? To what degree, we don't know. Like, maybe they're saying it's 1.4 billion, but it's really 1.2. Or maybe they're saying it's 1.4 and it's really 0.8. That would be a big difference. So the only way that you can estimate these things is by looking at many different data points that the data is collected separately from the other ones, and it's never, it's not reconciled to agree. And then you look at these things independently and say, do they agree? But I think, the way that this was first noticed is really salient, because even though we can say that the numbers that we've seen in the US, for example, based on that insurance data, it's quite impressive, but it hasn't made an impact in people's day-to-day lives. Like, I can go into town and seems like it's the same number of people that were there before COVID. But these folks, in China, where we know that these cities were extremely population dense. I mean, they had among the highest population densities in the world, and they were thriving, booming economically, as we've all heard about. To, hear a number of people, and of course, I'd like to go there myself and see, with my own eyes, and I'd love to hear about other, Westerners who have done that and also witnessed the same thing. Like people who may travel to China every year for business or whatever, that maybe notice the difference. But it's pretty striking if you can go there and see, empty streets and empty shops in what was one of the most bustling places around.
I've never heard about this before. You're kind of
blow my mind here.
I felt the
to
same way when I came across this, and it was like by accident that something came up, on my video feed, and then I did a relatively deep dive because, I realized that there's, when it comes to what's going on in China, the Western media don't cover much at all. When they do cover it, it's like, certain topics. Like, it's usually either about, economics, trade policy, right? Yeah. Like, when China started buying oil directly from Saudi Arabia, things like that certainly make the news. But we don't get much about what's really going on in China domestically. However, now, because of, social media and these kinds of platforms, there are, Chinese people who also speak English who are reporting to the Western world. And maybe there are actually expats of China, and but they're still interested in it because they have family and origins there. And then you even have some Westerners who, are, maybe they had a business in China, they studied Mandarin in college and, have some relationship with China, who are doing a lot of this research. And these are, they're all outside the mainstream, of course, but they're definitely a presence, and there are quite a number of them. And you can actually find out a lot about what's going on, in China from these folks that we are totally clueless about in the West. So, I can't say with, certainty that I know for sure that this, massive population decline has occurred, but there's more than enough evidence to take it seriously. And, I'm planning to just keep my ears open because you can't hide something like that forever. If it's actually true, it's going to come out into the mainstream over time, because more and more people go there and see it and say, what the heck's going on in China? Where is everybody?
Mm. Yeah,
it's just an interesting, because at the end of the day, would it surprise me that you're correct? And I'm not saying that you are, I'm not saying that you're not. But at the same time, coming from a communist country that runs on propaganda.
Oh yeah.
Would I be surprised that they've been exaggerating their population? No. Like, it's the same thing. You look under Stalin, like even during the Second World War, they were not aware of the gulags. They literally were fighting amongst military men that their family could have been in the gulag back in Russia, and they had no clue. It is true information in a book that I have somewhere right here that talks about it. But until that book and until the story of the soldiers, nobody knew that under Stalin, he was arresting people left, right, and center and throwing them in death camps. Yet they're fighting the Nazi because they were bad, but they were arguably even worse back home. And we didn't know because it wasn't advertised, right? Nobody's going to brag about this.
And, was that the real reason they were fighting Germany, or was it because they didn't want Germany to try to take over Russia?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point too. Let me see here what Jason says regarding he says, I feel if we knew informed consent, power of the patient to decide would be informed consent would be a stronger argument. If we're being misled or lied to, it makes any medical argument void. So that's just a reference to the question that you had answered for him there. What do we think, Nico? Like, what do we do? How are we doing for time?
Well, hold on. Just let me take a couple of ones because Curious Georgia is thanking you. She's saying that thanks, Dot. That's exactly what he heard. And also surveillance type stuff like how he's going outside. I've been
Now
saying
he's going
it's demonic
outside,
things. You know what? I've heard this one before. And as a Christian,
What's that?
I agree.
How does that work?
The demonic portion is
Oh,
what I'm
okay.
saying.
Yeah.
Because as a Christian, I believe that. I don't believe that. I believe that a lot of our issues are spiritual.
Yeah.
It's not a body problem. It's not a mind problem. It's a spiritual problem. And the more we disconnect from our spirituality, the least we understand how we actually work. We just don't take it seriously, and obviously it's showing.
Yeah.
Time wise, it depends on you, Andrew, or because you looked at your watch. We had you until 2. So it's really up to you if you still have time, because there's a couple more comments, and I'm sure you have more questions for him. But if you have to go, we fully understand.
Well, I can give you another 5 minutes, and then I have to prepare for another appointment.
Oh yeah, sure. No.
So do you have something you want to address, Rob?
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you about what's your take just on RFK as Health and Human Services Secretary? Do you like that appointment? Do you like what he's doing? Do you think that he's a true believer? I should say in the cause. Do you think do you think he's kind of, I don't know. He's been on this for a while. Eh? He's been quote unquote anti-vax for quite a while. Although if you listen to him, I don't think he's actually anti-vax. He's more he's more vaccine skepticism.
Well, this is something I've not really talked about. I mean, certainly, going back to what I was saying at the beginning, I wouldn't trust anyone to be in that kind of a position, because we all need to learn about how to be our own health authorities, which is my tagline. So that aside, no, I do not believe that RFK represents the true natural healing community in any way. And he's, stated overtly that he supports the vaccine schedule and encourages children to get vaccinated. I had some opportunities to speak with him and his, team during COVID to present, the evidence about the lack of evidence for viral existence. And he was not willing to seriously listen to the truth about that. And I'm really not interested in talking with people who, are not interested in the truth for whatever reason. And I'm not saying he's not capable of understanding it. He's, clearly very intelligent, but he is, once again, a politician. And whose interests are he representing? I don't think it's not our interests, right? I don't know for sure with him because, and many people in the current U.S. administration under Trump are, they're different types from different backgrounds a little bit as some of the other administrations. But, it's still, he is a Kennedy. He comes from a political family. So it's not all that different. But, it seems like he is throwing a couple of bones to people that are inconsequential, like, banning red dye number 3. It's like, well, what about all the other dyes?
Yeah, that's true. It's
why only that one? I'm not in favor of banning anything. I think that, anyone, if they want to eat food coloring dyes, let them. If they want to eat, cyanide pills, let them. All right. Everyone can make their own choice. I think people have the responsibility to find out the information, to know what they're doing to themselves so they could do it intentionally rather than by accident. But we don't need any, authority telling them, because the authorities are never trustworthy. They're never serving, the real interests of safety. If they were, there would be no vaccines that were on the market allowed to be sold.
YouTube.
Entertainment purposes only.
Yep. Andrew, thank you.
You'll just have to get the beeper like they used to do when you.
Yep.
No, it's funnier to do it like this because we get to make fun of it at the same time. So everybody knows that if we're saying that you need to get your 8 booster, you're actually, you need to look. The science has been settled. You need to get your 8 booster. They all know we're kidding. They all know it's sarcastic. But at the same time, I think that's the only way we don't get in trouble, by questioning the narrative. So, Andrew, once again, thank you for being here. Thank you for accepting our invitation. We know that you have other things to do than to talk to these 2 baldies, but we appreciate you, and beautiful hair, brother.
Yeah,
beautiful
is that a hair appointment that you're rushing off to?
Well, no, it's other things that aren't as fun as talking with you guys. But I did want to mention, I used to be bald like that, and I just last month gave my hair regrowth workshop. So you guys want to check that out, get in touch with Macy after, and we'll get you a free coupon.
Fuck yeah. Yeah, I'm down. I'm down with that.
Rob would like hair. I would like mine to stop growing. I've been. I used to have longer hair than you. Shaved it off 24 years ago, and I wish they stopped work.
I'd take some hair if I could have it.
Yeah, but you're kind of a metrosexual. So
give it
okay.
up. Give it up.
Thanks, Andrew, for being here.
Yeah, thanks a lot so much, Andrew. This was a great chat. Hopefully,
all right,
our audience, I think our audience really enjoyed it, and I'm gonna check that out.
All right, good seeing you guys.
You too, Andy.
Bye. And there we are. Nothing like finishing on a little dig.
Yep, yeah, absolutely.
Here's a coupon for his hair removal techniques.
Yeah.
And if you want, Macy, I believe, is in it's from his assistant, I believe so. Like that's who I'm dealing with whenever I'm talking, whenever I'm trying to get Andy on the show. So
okay, cool.
To the people that are listening, how do you like it? How did you like the conversation with Andy? It's definitely not what I was planned. I did not think he would come in gun blazing about the money system.
Yeah, that was cool.
But at the same time, am I surprised? He's a smart guy, right? He's very researched, so I'm not really surprised that he had an opinion on all of this. And I don't think he gets to speak about it very often, because that's not why people approach him. So I think that's why he came in guns blazing, like,
yeah.
Talk about
I mean, I'm a bit skeptical on like, I think about the Chinese population thing, but it's is it
hard to believe? I've never thought about this, but would it be hard to believe that they would boost
I believe
their population numbers?
I believe that China would try to do that. I think it'd be hard
hard to hide.
I could
find dozens, if not more of articles saying that it's not 1.4, it's actually 1.2. And we're talking
Really?
about the BBC. We're not even talking about people. We're talking about people that tend to believe what everybody says, right? That they
Yep.
don't really question much. So
Yep.
even if them are basically saying that the population's about 15% less than what they advertise, would it be that hard of a stretch to say that it's more?
No, that's right. That's right. I mean,
So
it wouldn't. I mean, I don't find at all it would be unusual for it to be 1.2 or 1.1. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
and that's still 300 million off the official number. It's still quite a bit.
yeah, because 300 million, you're talking about a quarter of their population doesn't exist.
Basically talking about an entire America, basically a little
That's
bit
a
less.
good point.
Yeah.
Like 25 million Canadian.
Yeah.
25 million Canada. No, we're
Yeah.
40. We're not that bad. But
40. Yeah.
you're basically talking about five times the population of Canada that's
Yeah.
just missing.
Just gone.
So,
Yeah.
That's a lot of people.
It's
But
interesting for sure.
He's
And-
an
and-
interesting dude. Eh?
as you said-
That's the type of dude I would like to have on the show, a la Jason. You know, you
Yeah.
show up with certain topics that are going on, and he most definitely has
Yeah.
an opinion about it.
Yeah. I like that.
Like a
yeah,
3-hour podcast, like a la Joe Rogan. This is the
You-
type of dude.
you just do basically what we do with Jason, just a show, but he
Yeah.
just had that third person on.
Yeah, because he's very well informed on all topics, but it's very interesting the way he approached the election. Just saying, yeah, you shouldn't vote. I love
Yeah.
it. I fucking love. I love because I understand where he's coming from, and he's
Oh
right.
yeah, I
If
can,
you
I can
don't believe,
appreciate
if you're against the game, voting just confirms your pawn status. And I get
Yeah.
what he's saying. I
Yeah.
fully understand, and I will not be voting. So I get what he's saying. I get what
Yeah.
he's saying, but I still have faith that a system can be put in place for the
I
right
do too.
reasons.
I
I
do too.
want to believe that it is true, but that could be part of me being naive as well.
Maybe.
I try to be an optimist.
Yeah.
At the end of
Yeah,
the day, I still try to be an optimist, but do I really believe that it makes that much of a difference, that I have that much pull? No, I really don't. I really don't.
No,
You wanna
I
take some of the comments there
yeah, I'll take
before
some
we
of these
finish?
because mostly it's some feedback on the show. Prairie says great conversation. Cheryl says very interesting. Curious George says excellent. Thanks very much. Jason, the show is super necessary. No way would we get all that from an anchor 8-minute interview. Give us someone time to talk, and we get a lot from it. Great point.
I
think,
know what I mean.
you know what I mean? I think that's exactly the way to do it. You know, you just get interesting people on the show and give them space to talk and see where they go.
Yeah, it's hard to. One thing's for sure, I've recorded hundreds of those interviews.
Yep.
It's hard to book a guy like him for like 2 hours.
Who can actually talk.
Oh, yeah. No, but not just that, just booking him for
Oh,
that
I see what you
long.
mean.
Just
Yeah,
like this is not easy.
I was surprised we had him for an hour, to be honest.
But that's my point. Like a lot of the guys I get out, I like, hey, 30 minutes here, I got an hour there. I'd love to be able to sit down with a guy like that for 3 hours and just run through questions.
Everything.
Because you know he has an opinion on a lot of things, and you don't know where the conversation would go. And we're lucky because we're getting more and more people showing up and just commenting, like Curious Georgia being a first today. So I don't know where
I
you're
believe
from.
this is the first time, but good to see you.
She's off of Curious Georgia. Is your name Georgia, or you come from the state of Georgia?
I'm assuming,
but I don't know. I don't want to assume. But I've called many women dudes and many dudes women. So
yes,
I know. But it is what it is. I was assuming that it was a woman, but
yeah, no,
welcome.
Great to see it. Always great to see new faces.
Hopefully, we'll have you again.
Yeah, thanks for all the comments. We appreciate that. And another great show, great conversation, great interaction by the audience. Yeah, that was great. I really enjoyed that. I thought that was cool. Like I said, don't necessarily buy every single thing he said, but he articulated his case and he makes you think for sure. And that's really all you can do.
So Georgia is the name. So you are Curious Georgia, and you're from PA. So you're from Pennsylvania. So you're just a Curious Georgia, not the state. Georgia. I get it. But great having you on. Great having you on. Great for your comments. We appreciate them. Hopefully, Andrew answered your questions. And Yeah. Question for you guys before we go, and you don't have to answer today. You can let us know in the future. But is this the type of conversation you would like us to have more of with guests?
Well, because I was kind of
Because-
thinking as he was doing that, I was like, I feel like this could be I'd like to do this a little more regularly.
Yeah, I would like to do this more regularly, and
I
especially
like the 1 p.m. thing. We still do the show at the beginning, and
Yeah.
then you bring them on at we just have a shortened show for for an hour.
because
And
the
then-
thing I like about this is that it was not what he's used to speaking about. If you Google Dr. Andy Kaufman, this
Yep.
is not what he talks about. The questions you asked him about the virus, that's what he talks about.
Yes, exactly.
But he doesn't talk about the politics. He doesn't talk about China. You could say, like he even mentioned it. Hey, I've never mentioned this before. And but these are the conversations I want to have with those people.
I agree with that. That's what the
I
show
get to
is like,
speak to
right?
people that's been on thousands of interviews, and I'm like, okay, at the end of the day, what's the difference between me asking the same questions as the other guys?
Yeah.
You can find out I'm not that special that you're going to take my interview of him over somebody else. But the fact that I don't ask the same questions, I want to go somewhere that they don't talk. I want to get to know the dude behind the controversy. This is who I'm interested in talking to.
I like that style. I think that way you can actually get you might hear something that no one's heard before, right? And I think that's I just find that more interesting. And essentially that's kind of what the show is about, right? We have our topics that we want to discuss, and then it goes wherever the fuck it's going to go. And we will try to bring it back to the topics, but again, the conversation goes where the conversation goes. And I actually think that's the strength of the show.
And the comments, and the
Yeah.
comments, and
Yep.
the comments.
Absolutely.
Because it seems Cheryl is saying yes, more please. Curious Georgia saying yes, please, and Prairie saying yes.
And
And
Francis
France-
Weddowson. Who's this again?
I do not know. I will Google her right now. But this is another thing I
Ooh,
wanted to mention.
Political scientist.
This is another thing I wanted to mention now that we're on the subject.
Oh yes, actually that segue. I know exactly what you're gonna say.
Let us know if you guys are interested in certain, because we're Rob and I are talking behind the scene about a few things that we'd like to start implementing, and it should start happening over the next couple of weeks. But we would really, really want to encourage you guys to ask us about specific topics that you would like us to address, or guests like France. I'm going to look who she is, and I'm going to see if we can make this happen. But I would like for you guys to ask more. We will start providing to certain people an email address that you guys can, if there's certain articles, certain topics, similar to what Sylvie did with me a couple of days ago, sent me an article about Megan Murphy, because there's no way we can be aware of everything. There's no way. And there's no way that we can know everybody that's out there. That would be a great conversation. So if you guys, just so you guys, I'm just putting it out there that we will soon be encouraging you more participating in this, because at the end of the day, like Rob has said this multiple times, and I'm going to say it for the first time, it is a community that we're trying to build. We're really trying to build a bunch of critical thinkers that don't really care about their political affiliations, if they have any, and just want to together try to get to the bottom of things, and sometimes just shoot the shit, right?
Yeah, I completely agree. Johnny, another new face, I believe. John, great to see you again. Or Jake, it's great to see you for the first time. Says Kaufman has recorded many similar chats. However, much more interesting. This is much more interesting than the gain of function, freedom, truth, or BS. Yeah. So it just, I mean, I think it's a great idea just to get interesting people, give them a microphone, give them space to talk, and see where it goes.
Because at the end of the day, I want to know the person behind the controversy, no matter what the controversy is, because I'm always
and I like that too. I like just, why did you do the thing that you did, right?
Because that's the question I want people to ask me when I'm on their podcast. Why do you do what you do? Because you can easily go check. I post 5, 6, 7 times a day. You don't need to talk to me to know what I stand for. You see it. I'm clearly not hiding what I stand for. But why do I stand for this? This is something that is often never shared. And those people, a lot of people don't get to speak about that part. People want to talk about what's controversial. I want to get to know the human being and why they do what they do. That's what matters to me.
Yep, I completely agree. Jason, are y'all doing 2 shows? And you are doing 1 show with Nico tomorrow, and then me and Nico are doing live debate coverage tomorrow evening.
So yes, I'm doing 2 shows tomorrow.
Yes,
Rob
I'm
is
not.
slacking off.
I'm just doing 1.
Yeah,
So
but I'm doing 2. I will be
Yeah.
there with you, Jason, tomorrow at the same bat time, same bat channel as
Yep.
today.
And
But
that's,
then I will come back at night and
yes,
cover the election and the debate.
we are
Yes.
doing live debate coverage, so we'll be jumping on at 6:45 Eastern time to tee that up. No need to go, an hour or 2 beforehand. We'll just jump on, shoot the shit, and then we'll get started, and then we'll just have a watch party as we go.
Anything else you want to add to this?
No, I think that's it, guys. As always, you could have been anywhere in the world today. You chose to be here with us, and we appreciate that. Sylvie, I know, yeah. I'm like just
Yes!
the time. Oh, I got so now it's not just Nico chirping me. Now it's the audience. But yes, you're right.
But that's
you're
what
right.
I like. I'm gonna start dancing on that one. Hey-o.
Yeah, I'm slacking. Nico's picking up the slack. Guys, again, another great show. Thank you so much. We had an excellent audience participation. Really like that show. I think, again, don't have to necessarily agree with everything the guy says, but it makes you think. It makes you see things a little differently. And I, he made a case for what he believes, and that's really all the show's about. Other than that, I think that will be it. Guys, we will catch you tomorrow. You'll be here with Jason and Nico at the same time, and then me and Nico for debate coverage tomorrow night. Sylvia, it cut me deep. Peace. Peace, folks. Lazy. She calls me lazy.